Aloha. We're continuing our discussion on the charter amendments, and the one that we're talking about right now is proposal number 6, and that is to remove the cap on penalties for violations of law so that they may be set by ordinance. And the ballot question is basically, shall the charter be amended to remove the cap on penalties for violations of the law so they will be set by ordinance? So, Ward, could you give us a little overview, because you have a lot more financial background than I.
Well, I'm an economist by training, and the problem is that the way it's set by ordinance is there's a certain number put into the ordinance of the fine. And maybe it's $1,000 a day, maybe it's $10,000 a day, but whatever it is, it's set by ordinance. That will change, whether that's significant or not changes over time. You know, a fine of $1,000 in 1950 is not the same as a fine of $1,000 in 2022. So the number put into the charter is not an appropriate number because it'll change over time. We need to have the council by ordinance change the number as it becomes appropriate. For certain things, $1,000 a day is a big deal. It's a big deal to me, but it might not be a big deal if you're getting $10,000 a day from an illegal operation of something or other. So having it by needs to be changed so that you'll get the effect you want in terms of controlling the behavior we're trying to control.
So, along that line, I mean, I look at if what we're talking about is having, the way it is right now, those fines are fixed by the charter, and they can't be changed very easily. However, though, when you have resolution, you can change those more to align with the situation that we have, and that they can make the appropriate decisions instead of having a canned approach, basically, with a canned fine, that this is it, this is what you get fined for. And again, as Ward was just saying, some of these, let's say it's illegal B&B. Now, some of these get up to $10,000 a day for their rental of some of these places. So if they are not in compliance, then, like Ward was saying, a fine of $1,000 really doesn't add that much, and it's just probably doing business. So again, for us to really look at being effective and efficient, it's important not to have this fine fixed, but that it be reflective of the situations that they're looking at that time for some type of violation. So.
And it's hard to figure out in advance what will come up in the future. There may be all sorts of developments in the future where you want to have the flexibility of putting fines in by ordinance rather than to have a fixed dollar amount, which will change over time with inflation. That'll make effectively over time the monetary impact of a fine decreases as the cost of doing business goes up.
And not only that, but sometimes there may be situations where the fine that would be in the charter that would be fixed is not appropriate. Actually, the fine should be a lot less for that situation, and they can't adjust accordingly. So it goes both ways in terms of how the different fees would be charged to this. So again, I think that in terms of our overall governance, the way that we are looking at supporting, keeping laws, and having it be so that it's reflective of the actual situation. This is a very positive amendment to have. And again, we encourage you, both of us encourage you to vote yes on this charter amendment. Ward, you want to add a little bit more onto that?
No, not particularly. This is just something we think that will make the charter, which we've been working on for a year and a half, more appropriate for the kinds of situation we find ourselves in, and not have our hands tied together, not have the council's hands tied together by fixed numbers in a floating number environment.
Great. So we encourage you to vote yes on the Charter Amendment number 6.